Hey everybody, it's Bob from TheKnifeJunkie.com, and I wanted to do a review on this here Emerson Seax, a new 2018 release by Emerson, and a knife that I was pining for ever since it was announced and snatched up as soon as it came out. And I'm so happy I did. I love it. I haven't bought an Emerson in, about 5 years. I guess 2013 was the last Emerson I bought before this one here. And my interests kind of veered off into other territories, but I've always had a very special place in my heart for Emerson knives. First and foremost, aesthetically. I just think they're attractive knives. I know that sounds like a weird thing to say, attractive, but I'm attracted to them. My eye is drawn to them. And part of that is just the aesthetics. The other part is their practical, their DDU, their design designated utility. To me, I think there's something noble in creating a knife that is a weapon, first and foremost, and can be pressed into EDC tasks. But I think it's kind of ballsy when companies come out like Cold Steel, like Benchmade, like Emerson, and say, no, this one's a weapon. These other ones, these are for cutting string off your shirt or cutting your sandwich in half at lunchtime. But this one's for, gutting a bad guy or whatever. Of course, they don't say that. But I think that it's a realistic view, and I think it leads to very good-looking knives. That's just my taste. Anyway, with this Emerson Seax, after an excruciating and dread-inducing break-in period, I have to say, this time it was the worst. This has really blossomed into a beautiful knife. But to begin with, it had lock sticks so extreme, it was on the comical side. I would need an instrument to move the lock bar over. But it's blossomed into this. Have you ever seen an Emerson do that? I mean, I haven't. I guess the new flippers on ball bearings do that readily. But to me, this kind of action is a new thing. But I'll get to the action in a minute. Let me get this in the middle. Let me get it in the middle. It's probably not in the middle. Can't tell. But anyway, so I just think that this whole break-in thing that I went through, which I was heartbroken about because I spent some money on this, and I was thinking I had to keep remembering all my other Emersons and how where this one was a son of a bitch, and now it's a beautiful knife, the P-Sark. So I had to remind myself that this is what Emersons do, and then it made me wonder, what if, just what if, Emerson Knife Incorporated somehow took an active stance against this break-in period and decided, let's go right for the blossomed, beautiful knife. Let's release that from the factory instead of the temperamental adolescent knife that needs to be whipped into shape, which I'm willing to do for a great knife. This happens to be a great knife. I lucked out. So it's no mystery. I'm a fan of Emerson, and I know a lot of people are not. Emerson has gone out of vogue in a lot of ways due to things like this. This is my Horseman, and you can see the grind lines and the chatter lines of the machines on the back of the blade. You can feel it, and you can see it in these titanium liners too, just not very finely finished. And a lot of people complain about how the G10 is a bit proud of the liners. I think it's actually comfortable. I think that's done on purpose, and it makes it more comfortable to hold. But there have been issues that have turned people off of Emerson's for a long time. Chief among them is this chisel grind that people just have their knickers in a twist about. I don't quite get it. The only disadvantage to this kind of a chisel grind here, where the primary cutting edge is only on one side, if you have a thin enough blade, you feel almost no difference, except when you're cutting through cardboard, it tracks a little differently. But so Emersons are not. You're either an Emerson fan or you're not, and they seem to be. It seems to be a polarizing brand. But in any case, so let's talk about the aesthetics of this. So the designated design utility is that of a tactical knife, a fighting knife, something that you can extract yourself from a bad situation once all your bullets run out, blah blah blah, etc., etc., and you can wave it out of your pocket and kick some ass. Okay, I accept it. I like it. I'll take it. The design to me is beautiful. I'm a huge sucker for the Sachs shape, the Wharncliffe shape. Well, I don't know if those are interchangeable, actually. I think a Sachs usually has a very gradual curve there, and, well, whatever. This blade shape is very attractive to me. The big, chunky wave looks good to me. Even the handle looks good to me. I'll talk about how it feels in a minute. But it's beautifully ground and stone washed, and I like seeing the grind lines on the blade. Now, I say grind lines. I'm not sure if I'm being naive. Are those grind lines, or are those mill lines from like a mill? I don't know, but I like the way it looks. Okay. So anyway, what is this? This is a typical Emerson. This has the black G10 handles. It has the titanium liner lock and liners. It has, yes, it still has 154 cm blade steel, which honestly, I'm fine with. The only thing that sticks in my craw is that for $240, I can get a ZT with 20 CV steel. And those letters and numbers together, that alphanumeric combination is more valuable than the alphanumeric combination of 154 cm, I'm told. But I gotta be honest with you, I've never pushed either one to their limit, so I can't really say. It's just a matter of value. What's that schmutz there? That must have been from the last knife fight. I get in so many of them. Ergonomics. Well, this is where I'm going to bring in some other Emersons for comparison. There's the P-Sark. There's the beautiful and vaunted CQC13 with slightly sanded down G10 handles. There's my prized 2000 Emerson Commander. I bought this in '99 from Knife Center and didn't get it for a year, and I thought they ripped me off. And then when I received it out of the blue, I was like amazed. It was amazing. The reason I brought this, and this out is that they all have superior, far superior ergonomics to this, at least to my medium, average-sized, skinny guy hands. The finger choil here, and then the long well, fits my hand perfectly. The back of the back nestles in my palm perfectly here. The same could be said for the CQC13, even more so. This feels like, you know, it melts right in your hand. Same thing with the P-Sark. Now we get to the Sachs, and it's got a layout that doesn't quite work for my hands. This double well thing, where, you know, two fingers are supposed to fit here and two go here, and yeah, it works, and I get my hand in there, but it leaves too much of a hollow here. If you're gonna force your hand into this situation here, it makes me want this setup to be slightly different. So I guess what I'm saying is, ergonomically, this knife is a little awkward for my hands. Just a little. It's not a deal breaker, believe me, as you can tell, because I've been talking about this knife for a long time. But it feels better in reverse grip. Honestly, this is a perfect ramp for my thumb, and somehow my fingers just land more naturally in reverse grip. Now, I totally get that this was probably made with someone else's hand gripping it, and it fit their hand beautifully, and I could see how it could. It just slightly misses the mark for me. Ever since I saw this, I thought, how cool would this Sachs blade be on the handle of an Emerson Roadhouse, which I actually don't have, but even on a sort of CQC8 handle, maybe not. But anyway, this handle, aesthetically, I get it. It fits the theme, but it doesn't quite fit my hand exactly how I want to. All right. So I guess that will act as a size comparison, at least for Emerson's. Let me show you some other knives that it stacks up to, or not how it stacks up to other knives is more like it. All right, so, all right, let's see. We got the bug out. Yeah. Bug out. Rat 2. Oh, here's a good one. One of my faves. It's kind of big. Similar type blade. That's the XM24 by Hinderer. I should say Rick Hinderer Knives. And then here's another similar blade. The utterly freaking gorgeous 20 CV and carbon fiber edition of the Yojimbo. Whoops, sorry about that. See, I'm getting so excited. The Yojimbo, beautiful. Yojimbo 2, I guess I should say. Here it is next to the Benchmade Crooked River, another biggie. Another practically speaking 4-inch blade. Oh, I guess everyone has one of these. Or at least everyone knows how other knives compare to this, because they've seen it in videos a million times. And a frenzy, just to get a little ridiculosity in there. What do you think? Again, I'm a sucker for that shaped blade, and I'm glad Ernest Emerson looked in his vault, and I guess he has quite a collection of Viking relics, and he decided to make one after one of his Sachses. Action and deployment. So, action was terrible. Actually, the action started out pretty good, but the locking, the lock stick was always horrendous. But now that the lock stick is gone, through the help of some pencil application to the blade tang a couple of times, and just opening and closing and opening and closing, it has gone away. This break-in thing, man, I don't know. It's kind of cool in a way. It's like, yes, I earned this awesome knife, and it took me a while, but at the same time, man, it could be really off-putting, and people who aren't Emerson devotees or people who want to give Emerson a try might really be turned off and sell the thing before it ever goes through its full break-in period. So, I don't know, maybe there's a way to kind of break it in the factory. So, I guess I'll get into value. Value is in the eye of the beholder oftentimes in knives, I think, because they can be superfluous items. Let me say this is a superfluous item. Honestly, like, really, this is overkill for my needs, So, what do I need this for? What do I need this for? What do I need that for? Well, it's all about personal taste and preference. And is this worth the money? No, it's not. But it is to me, because I love Emerson's, and I love the knife that this turned out to be. But, would I tell the average guy out there to go buy and try an Emerson? No, I wouldn't. I would tell the average knife guy to give them a try and to go through the break-in period and everything. But I'm hesitant to say I wouldn't tell a regular guy to go out and spend their money on this, just because, they might not know what to expect, and they might not know that they need to just press through it. All that being said, breaks my heart to say that. So a design gaffe here was the pocket clip placement. You see that here too on the piece arc. The pocket clip was just put on there just crazily low, so that the knife sticks way out of your pocket. I mean, come on. That looks like he's mad at someone right here. He had all of this room to move it up closer to the hole. This, he could have gotten rid of the hole altogether. Just slide that sucker up. Anyway, it required me to buy one of the Emerson's new low rider pocket clips. And you may have seen my video about this. It's a mixed blessing. These knives definitely need it, and I don't want to jury rig a Benchmade clip onto here. So I got the Emerson version, and I gotta say, man, it's just too thin up here. As I mentioned in my other video, it was the Sachs. I was carrying it one day, and I pulled it out of my pocket, and this was bent all the way to the edge of the scale, and I hadn't even noticed. You know, during the day, I hadn't noticed whatever I had done to bend this back so far to the edge of I still didn't notice. So it wasn't hard enough, but whatever I hit, I didn't hit it hard enough to notice. And yet, and you can even see how this back and forth is starting to affect the G10 there, to burnish it down a little bit. But I got it. I spent 25 bucks for it and the other one. And, you know, I'm waiting for them to make another one where this is, instead of coming back in and getting thin, this keeps that full thickness all the way through the loop. Okay, all that being said, I love this knife. You know, it's kind of like your kids or your girlfriend or your wife or your brother or your sister. You love it. You love it. There are lots of things that annoy the shit out of you about it, but you love it. And I'm not saying I love this like I love my children or my family, but in terms of my knife collection, this has now become prized. And it took a little work. And, you know, it's just like not everyone's perfect. Not every knife is perfect. And if you like it and you want it to hold on to it, sometimes you gotta wait a little bit. Just wait. And I know the knife culture is not used to waiting because we've been blessed with online retailers and we can just order a knife and have it the next day. In a pinch, like I do sometimes, go to Walmart, buy a cheap fucking, excuse my French, buy a cheap buck. You know, maybe that'll hold me for the afternoon. Anyway, my point is, just like people, some Emersons are crappy, but some Emersons are spectacular. And it's worth braving the break-in period to get a spectacular Emerson. At least in this case. I do highly recommend the Sachs. Oh, yeah. Not crazy about their new font, though. Hey, what can you do, though?